I want to go ahead and talk about account-based selling, because it starts with accounts and not leads. It doesn't start with buying a list of leads. It starts with choosing the right accounts to go after. And that's exactly what I'm going to walk you through right now. Our CRMs today really push us to first upload a bunch of leads, map them to maybe convert them to contacts, and then move them into being accounts. But today, in account-based selling, you have to start the story with accounts. It's the best way to start choosing your accounts and then passing them on to your sales team to get the best results. So I don't think it's the best way to go forward and let your CRM dictate the way you sell. I think it's important that we pick the right accounts, and picking the right accounts really involves finding the story. What is a story is something I'll come back to in a few minutes, but there are different ways and different places you can find your stories today. Your stories exist inside your customer base. That means that you might have a company like DHL using you. You might have a company like Samsung using you. And you're going to probably start off account-based selling at your organization. There's another way of finding out where you can find stories if you're a small startup or you haven't had too much success in outbounding. It's going to your competitor blogs. I'm going to go through that as well. And the third way I'd like to look into is researching about an industry and finding pain points. So like I mentioned earlier, it's important that you conquer your industry one sub-vertical at a time. If I had DHL as one of my top customers, I'd go after FedEx, I'd go after VRL. If Samsung was my top customer, I'd go after Xiaomi, I'd go after Apple, I'd go after HTC, and all the other phone companies with the same story. And when I say story, you might be wondering, what exactly am I talking about, or what does story really involve? Well, I want to show you how you can break down a story wherever you find it. You might find a story inside your customer base. You might find a story inside a competitor's blog, or you might just start building your own story or finding pain points and solutions through your friends and your network. A story consists of decision makers. Decision makers are the people that sit on the table and sign that contract for you, that were involved in every step of the way of the decision-making process. The second part is, what were the problems that led these decision makers to go ahead and sign off that contract? What was that real pricking sense in the back of their head that made them find the solution? The third part of this is finding that solution and putting that into a metric. How do you measure that problem that they were talking about? What is that KPI? Is it customer response time? Is it bad reviews online? Which part of their business is so critical to them that it pushed them to make a change? The fourth part, and I find this a really important step as well, is to classify the story and accounts so that you can find similar cases. Let me give you an example. If Ferrari is a customer, does that mean that you can probably go after Toyota? But Ferrari is a luxury brand and Toyota is not. So your use case might work with Ferrari and the other luxury brands like McLaren and Audi, but it might not work with Toyota or Hyundai. I'm going to quickly run through a small case study here. So for example, if you were building a messaging platform, and I'm sure you've all heard of Slack, what I would do if I was a small startup is the first thing I would do was I would go over to Slack and see who the real customers of Slack are. And remember, when I came to breaking down that story involves the first part, like I mentioned, finding the decision maker over here, the VP of Brand and Communications, finding the problem, which is very well stated over here in this, and then going ahead and talking about a metric that matters, which is right over here. I think this is a small example of showing you how you can go about breaking down industries that your competitor might have cracked into, but you might not have cracked into. And now you can go ahead and find, so Kareem is a car service in Dubai. you can go ahead and find all of Kareem's competitors, put them on your list, start finding the decision makers, which is the VPs of branding communications, and you can go ahead and start targeting them.